Hi, everyone. Welcome to our toilet learning workshop. My name is Alan Roaring, and today we're going to talk about what steps you need to take in order to successfully teach your child how to use the washroom independently. There are 4 topics that we will cover in today's workshop. Topic 1, identifying toileting readiness. Topic 2, strategies for developing readiness skills. Topic 3, strategies for intervention. And topic 4, data collection strategies. Let's go over them in a little bit of detail. Starting with topic 1, identifying toileting readiness. Have you noticed some consistent behaviors that your child shows when they need to go pee or poo? Some things that I've heard from parents in the past are children going to a quiet corner or to a closet when they're ready to poo. And I think we're all familiar with the I need to go pee dance or behavior of children holding themselves and squatting when they're ready to use the washroom. Topic 2, strategies for developing learning readiness skills. We'll talk about some common strategies for helping develop these skills if your child is not showing them already and you feel that they should be. There are some developmental markers that we will review here. Then in topic 3, strategies for intervention, this is the nitty-gritty. We will discuss the strategies for a successful intervention to begin toilet training. And in topic 4, data collection strategies, we will also discuss the data collection strategies you will need to use to make sure that the plan is working and how to read the data so that you know when your child is ready to move to the next step of the plan. One thing to keep in mind is not to forget that every child is unique and each family's goals, needs, and abilities are different. The information that I'm going to share today, while based in scientific research, may not apply to every child. On average, kids are daytime bladder trained at 36 months, bowel and bladder trained by 24 to 48 months, and may not be nighttime bladder trained until they are about 5 to 7 years old. These are just some average statistics for children with regards to toilet training. Children typically are able to stay dry and use the bathroom during the day to pee by about 3 years old. However, some children may be both bowel and bladder trained anytime between 2 to 4 years old. Staying dry overnight might not even occur until about 7 years old. During this presentation, I'm going to be using terms like bowel or bowel movements. I'm referring to poo, and when I say bladder, I'm referring to pee. It can take 6 months to complete daytime bladder training and sometimes longer for daytime bowel training. This is not something that occurs quickly for any child, but remember that trying to train your child too early, before they are showing signs of readiness, may cause training to take longer than 6 months. And girls typically train faster than boys do. When considering whether to start toilet training for your child, you want to think about their chronological age, how old they are, as well as their developmental age. What age are they thinking at? Does your child understand what a toilet is and what it's used for? Do they see others using it? Are they curious about it? Do you notice that they seem to understand what is involved in the routine, like taking your pants down, orienting your body towards the toilet, and flushing? Most children find this the most interesting part. And hand washing. Everything that's part of this toileting routine is important, and your child's ability to understand this routine is crucial in showing us their learning readiness for toilet training. Here are some signs that your child is developmentally ready to start toileting. They are asking or otherwise indicating that they want their diaper changed. This could even include signs they are uncomfortable in their wet diaper or their dirty diaper. Is your child imitating any of the toileting routine on their own? And are they going to the bathroom on their own to investigate? These are a few signs to show us that your child is ready for toileting. It's important that your child can sit and attend to a preferred activity, not including watching a TV, but something like a puzzle or a toy for at least 3 minutes, because this means that they're able to sit on a toilet. Big surprise, you can bring these toys into the bathroom to help occupy a child on the toilet and distract them from the aversiveness that the toileting environment may cause them. There's 3 kinds of readiness that we look for when we're looking for readiness signs. We're looking for physical, developmental, and emotional readiness. We'll start by talking about signs of physical readiness. Have you noticed that there is regularity around bowel movements, a pattern behind when they go to the washroom, a pattern when they void in their diaper? Is your child dry for 1 or 2 hours during the day? and if there is no history of any constipation, UTIs, or other illnesses that could be affecting their physical readiness. We need to be cognizant of all these particular factors when we're looking at physical readiness for toileting. As well, if a child can physically pull their own clothes on and off, this is helpful. But if a child is physically unable or just simply doesn't want to, a parent can provide assistance and motivation to help the process along. We touched on this previously, but it's important that your child understands the usage of the bathroom. That when you say words like potty, pee-pee, or time to go to the bathroom, they understand that you are talking about going pee or having a bowel movement. This is what we mean by receptive communication, that a child understands exactly what they are hearing. In terms of expressive communication, this is when your child is using their behavior, verbal or otherwise, to express a need. In toileting terms, the pee-pee dance is expressive communication of the need to pee, just as is using the words, I need to pee, or pulling your hand to the washroom, or even pulling off a soiled diaper. These are all examples of expressive forms of communication, indicating that the child is ready to use the washroom. A good place to start is by increasing the amount of time you are spending in the washroom with your child, engaging in toileting-related activities. Many parents will change a child's diaper anywhere in the house that is convenient. A popular spot is usually in front of the TV to keep your child occupied. However, this doesn't help the child understand that the bathroom is actually the place for all activities related to urinating and pooing. It's actually teaching the child that these activities can happen anywhere, and we know that's not ideal. If your child doesn't like going to the washroom, we encourage families to isolate some of their child's favorite activities to be done in the bathroom at first, to encourage the child to enter the bathroom with no expectation to sitting on the toilet, just to help reduce the anxiety of the transition. Not every trip to the bathroom has to result in a bowel movement or pee, but it can just be to wash hands, put tissue in the wastebasket, water a plant, all while playing a child's favorite music or watching a short preferred YouTube video on a phone or iPad. These low to no expectation washroom trips are teaching opportunities we call pairing, and research tells us that it works. Many successful toileting training plans have started with a child watching Blue's Clues while simply standing or sitting on the floor of the bathroom. When done well, pairing will lessen resistance to entering the bathroom and make the toilet training process easier for you and your child. Once this is done, you can start pairing bathroom activities with going to the bathroom. Diapers these days are so good they actually may not allow the child to feel wet enough to be uncomfortable. And that's an important indicating factor for a child to know when to use the washroom, is feeling wet and feeling uncomfortable. Wearing underwear between skin and the diaper is a good way for them to start noticing the feeling of being wet without any unnecessary mess. Use a visual schedule to teach steps, and use other visual aids to help teach and break down steps in the routine. As you can see here, we have a schedule of 8 steps in the toileting routine broken down with accompanying visuals. Labeling the washroom by using pictures, words, and signs when your child communicates the need to go or at a particular scheduled time and interval for the washroom. Put their bowel movements from their diaper into the toilet so that they can see exactly where the BM needs to go. And provide a model for your child to watch so that they understand and learn visually from you. You can also go online and Google visual schedule toilet training and select images to find something to suit all different types of learners. You can print these out and waterproof them, attach them into your washroom, or put them on a popsicle stick so that you can easily show your child this visual aid when you are in the routine of the toileting. It's important to use consistent language so your child can quickly connect the language of toileting with the expectations of using the washroom. If your child is at the beginning stages, after you change a diaper in the bathroom, make a big deal about putting the bowel movements in the diaper into the toilet. Say something silly like, Mr. Poops goes splish splash in the toilet. Bye-bye, Mr. Poop. It makes it funny and silly, which can ensure that your child is paying attention to what you're actually doing. And if possible, use a model for the routine with yourself and narrate what you are doing using that same language. For boys, it'll be helpful to decide whether you would like to have them stand or sit when they urinate before you start toileting so that you can be consistent. It will take longer to learn if one parent is teaching the boy to sit and the other is modeling standing while peeing. So consistency is key amongst both parents that are going to be part of this toilet training process. Next, we'll talk about signs of constipation. It's a very important thing that parents are able to notice with their child to see if there are any physical difficulties that might be impeding the child from actually toileting and voiding in the toilet. Here are some signs that your child might be constipated. This is when their bowel movements are infrequent, difficult to push, seem too small to have emptied their bowels, or they might be too big for one particular stool. If your child's stomach appears to be too big, this is also a sign that they might be constipated. And we need to look for these signs as they might be causing the impediments that we need to our toileting routine. Abnormal loss of appetite, stomach aches, straining really hard when trying to make a bowel movement, occasional bleeding from the anus and the anal fissures, and unusual body language like clinging, hiding, or freezing are also signs of constipation. It's important to ensure that your child has a healthy bowel before beginning toilet training. Encouraging a child to pass painful or difficult stools are not recommended, and you can talk to your doctor about what foods can be introduced in their diet in order to soften their stool to make bowel movements as painless as possible. Pasteurized milk is a binding agent that contains small, safe amounts of lactulose that can actually help soften the stool. It also helps with water retention and can help make the stool easier to pass. Again, it's always important to speak with your doctor if your child's bowel movements are irregular for long periods of time. When starting the process of dealing with constipation, an easy win is to increase your child's intake of clear liquids and fiber. Studies have shown that almost half of children are getting less than 25% of the daily required fiber intake. Vegetables. Kids hate eating vegetables, but you know we all need to eat our vegetables. Since getting children to eat vegetables can be often as difficult or even more difficult than toilet training itself, you should talk to your doctor about alternatives in order to soften the stool for the purposes of toilet training. However, you can always be mindful of continuing to encourage and model the eating of your veggies. When it comes to milk, not enough and too much can both be problematic for your child's gastrointestinal tract. If your child is constipated every 3 days or more, it's time to talk to your doctor. This website has a very helpful pamphlet on developmental and behavioral approaches to toileting. I read it as preparation for providing this workshop, so I highly recommend you take a look at it before starting your own toileting program at home. We touched on anxiety around toileting earlier in the presentation, and here's some common symptoms that your child may be apprehensive or anxious about using the toilet to look out for. They may refuse to use by withholding their pee and bowels, or exhibit unusually large behaviors around using the bathroom. They may resist using public bathrooms or using even their own bathroom if other people are at home. Some children, and even some adults that I know, find it difficult to use bathrooms other than their own, or to use their own if there's more noise than usual or a change in their bathroom routine. Like when dad usually takes them to the washroom or usually does a toileting routine, but today an uncle or a brother is going to give it a try. While it's an important skill to be able to use the washroom or the bathroom wherever and whenever it's available, it's important to remember that a child may require some extra motivation and support to urinate or move their bowels in these new sorts of scenarios. Many children struggle with the unexpected noises, reflective surfaces, and general discomfort of washrooms, their own and public. However, often public washrooms can bring out extra levels of anxiety because they're so unfamiliar. If your child is showing signs of anxiety around these issues in their home washroom, such as covering their ears, closing their eyes, or resisting touching anything in the washroom, you may need to start with longer periods of pairing before starting your toileting plan. Whether or not your child displays anxiety around using the washroom, it is best to start with gradual exposure to the routine. Let them explore the bathroom until you feel they are comfortable enough that you can begin the training process. Once you determine the steps for training, starting with the part you feel your child will be most successful with, this could be simply just flushing the toilet, simply just entering the bathroom. When your child has completed this particular step after 3 days of independence, they're ready to move on to the next step. For more information on building the steps required in a routine, please watch our Intro to ABA video, also found on our website. Praise and reward your child for small attempts that are gradually getting closer to success. We can break these all down into sequential steps and reinforce accordingly for each gradual step made closer to the end goal. For example, we would want to provide praise and reinforcement for simply going to the bathroom or transitioning into the bathroom successfully. From there, praise and reinforce the child accordingly for sitting on the toilet with their clothing on. Praise and reinforce the child accordingly for sitting with their pants down but their diaper on the toilet. Providing praise and reinforcement for sitting with pants down and the diaper off while sitting on the toilet. And providing praise and reinforcement for actually avoiding in the toilet. And each and every step of the way, providing that praise and reward for your child will eventually get these small steps into our bigger end goal, which is voiding into the toilet. Some children respond well to watching others going through the process or being read a social narrative about the routine. There are lots of these online, or you can easily write your own custom narrative for your family. Reviewing the routine often and in low expectation settings can help reinforce the routine in the child's mind. Let's say bedtime reading and you want to read a story to your child. Pulling up a social story or a social narrative about toileting and the toileting routine will help incidentally reinforce the idea about toileting and the expectations associated with it. Bathroom accessibility. Consider these points about accessibility. Try to make the routine as easy as possible. This could mean adding a step stool or changing the location of your toilet paper. If your child is too resistant to going into the bathroom, then a potty somewhere else quiet can be a good alternative. As they become used to using the potty, then you can gradually move it closer and closer to the bathroom, get it finally inside the bathroom, and assist with that transition into the bathroom. Something important about our children that we need to consider, especially for children that are older, is the idea and the issue of privacy. We should always be striving to maintain the most amount of privacy possible. In very young children, it's quite impossible to provide much privacy. However, as children age and they gain more independence over their own skills, we need to remember that privacy is always important. Depending on your child's ability to sit, the need for an adapted toilet seat may be necessary in order for their feet to be well supported and to have their knees resting slightly higher than their hips. Different equipment is available for this. You can ask your school's occupational therapist for support, or if the child is younger than 6, ask to be connected to an occupational therapist here at ErinoakKids. Our first step towards successful training is to take some baseline data. This is data that you record without changing anything about your routine. If possible, check your child's diaper every 30 minutes and make a record of whether or not they are wet or dry. Do this for a week at least, or until you can see any patterns start to show. If your child is in school during the day, you can ask school staff to make a note of what time they noticed your child was wet. For our clients, we typically mark down a U for wet urine diaper, D for dry, and BM for bowel movement. Leaving your child in diapers while you take this baseline data ensures that their routine is not disruptive and will make it more clear that any changes once you start the planned intervention are a direct result of that actual intervention. Being consistent and adding information about food and drink intake will only help your understanding of what affects your child, specifically when it comes to toileting functions. Once you have at least a week's worth of data, you can begin answering some very important questions and begin analyzing some of this information. How long does your child dry for on average? If the data indicates that your child is consistently wet every time you check their diaper, for example, after every hour, you may want to start taking them to the washroom every half an hour when beginning your intervention. Also, are they more wet or dry at a certain time in the day? For example, if they have a juice box with snack every day at 10 a.m., are they always wet at 11 a.m. when they're checked, but after that, they're never wet again until 1:30? This will help you decide what time you will be most successful having your child eliminate on the toilet, about 5 or 10 minutes before that half-hour interval. There are 3 main methods for toilet training, and it is completely dependent on your child and your family needs. There's time, schedule training, there's sensation training, and there's a combination of both. If your data shows clear times, then you can create a schedule for taking your child to the bathroom for toilet training based on this information. If the data doesn't show a sort of pattern, but your child has some distinct behaviors when they have to go, then you can use these for sensation training, where you can take your child to the toilet once you notice their pre-PP behaviors. The goal of each method is to teach your child to avoid in the toilet and to be able to hold it at other times. An important step to remember when we are working on new skills or routines with children is the concept of reinforcement. We always need to be providing some sort of reinforcement for the work that they are doing. For the most part, we use what is called positive reinforcement. This is where we give the child something they like after they have done work towards gaining a new skill. When anyone receives something they like right after they do something they maybe didn't like so much, it increases the likelihood for that child or that person to try the behavior again. This behavioral principle exists for everyone. It's the same reason why we get paid money to go to work. It increases our likelihood that we will keep going back to work. But children don't work for money. They have favorite TV shows, toys, and games that they would love to work for. We call these preferred items, and you should make a list of your child's preferred items so that you are ready to reinforce toileting. An important note, we want to provide the child with positive reinforcement throughout the toilet training process. So let's talk about this a little bit more. Reinforcing items are different for every child, although I have yet to meet a child that doesn't like bubbles or the iPad or YouTube. In the beginning, you will be using these items fairly often, so it's important to keep them simple, small, and low cost. If they disappear on their own, or if they're consumable, like bubbles or food, instead of having to be taken away, like iPads and toys, this is the best case scenario because we don't want to create a problem behavior when we're trying to take the item away. If your child struggles with having items taken away, then try to stick with disappearing things or consumables. You can cut gummies down into smaller pieces or break chips into smaller sizes. You can buy some really small candies, even like Nerds or Skittles. You can keep a bag or basket of small items in the bathroom for this purpose. Just make sure your child doesn't get into the bag themselves. I mentioned keeping them in the bathroom because some of these items should only be used for toilet training. It should not be available to your child at other times in the day, and it should not be available to your child for free. Delivering reinforcement needs to be immediate, contingent, descriptive, frequent, paired, and brief. Now, what do all those things mean? Let's get into each one of them in further detail. Delivering reinforcement needs to be immediate. To be effective, it has to be fast. The goal is for the child to recognize a connection between what they just did and what they just got for doing it. If you wait too long before giving them the item, the child may not connect the two ideas together. Here's an example. Let's say your child is working on urinating in the toilet, but has already mastered hand washing. You take your child to the bathroom at the right time, and yay, they pee in the toilet. You wash their hands, you give them a small amount of candy, and you say, great job. In this example, you've just reinforced hand washing instead of reinforcing peeing in the toilet. In this particular example, reinforcement needs to be immediate. If our target step in the routine and our target behavior is urinating in the toilet, then we need to provide that reinforcement, the candy, right after the child urinates in the toilet. We say, great job, give them a small piece of candy after they peed, and then we get them to wash their hands. Delivering reinforcement needs to be contingent. The reinforcer is given only after the skill is attempted or completed. If you provide the candy without the child going, or at least trying to go in the toilet, the procedure will not work. The person must always be required to engage in the target behavior in order to earn the reinforcer. Delivering reinforcement needs to be descriptive. The child must know what they're being reinforced for. Be specific when rewarding the child by using language that labels their behavior. Say things like, I love how you went pee-pee in the potty, instead of great job. If your child is still learning language, you can use visual schedules and point at the steps that they just did. Look, you get bubbles for peeing in the potty. Yay! Delivering reinforcement needs to be frequent. When reinforcing a new behavior, you reinforce as often as possible. It's usually necessary to provide reinforcement every time the behavior occurs in order to increase its strength at first. After they're doing the step more readily, you can lessen how often you provide reinforcement for that step because you need to move on to the next step in the routine. It might be pulling up their pants, for example. Delivering reinforcement needs to be paired. Here's that pairing principle once again. By using your happiest mommy and daddy voice to give social praise together with any tangible reinforcer, you are making your voice inherently reinforcing. Your voice starts to pick up the positive association of the candy. This will help when it comes to fading the amount of reinforcement because your praise will stay valuable to the child. You should always try to say or interact with a child when you are providing reinforcement. The goal is to become the reinforcer. And trust me, that is possible. Lastly, reinforcement needs to be brief. Keep the amount of time the child has with the reinforcer as short as possible while still being fun. We want to maintain the value of the reinforcer as long as possible because trust me, too much of a good thing becomes bad eventually. Regardless of which method you choose, there are commonalities that make them both successful, whether it's sensation and time or scheduled training or a combination of both. By monitoring and adjusting fluid intake, using positive reinforcement, helping as much as the child needs and not too much, something we call graduated guidance, and using the washroom for all activities related to toileting, including accident cleanup wherever possible. You can also offer a combination of time training and sensation training. This is where you take your child according to a schedule that was determined in the baseline data, but also whenever you notice your child is showing signs of needing to go to the washroom, aka the pee-pee dance behavior. Keys to successful interventions. I'm going to let you in on a little secret about teaching behavior. You can only change your own behavior and see what effect it has on the behaviors of others. Here are the behaviors I need you to do in order to teach your child toileting skills. Number 1, I need you to commit to keeping the diapers off. I know it's messy, but it is necessary. Be thoughtful and consider your own family schedule. Is anyone going away for work or anyone going on a trip and they won't be able to help? Do you have a major project at work or are you very busy at the time? Don't start toilet training during times like these. Wait for a month that you can dedicate strictly to toilet training. Commit to your plan and commit to everything that you need, including your plan, visuals, data collection, reinforcers, have them all ready in the bathroom. This will help you stick to the program. Number 2, have reinforcers, candies, toys, bubbles, iPads within your reach and ready for use in the bathroom. Just make sure it is out of reach so that you may deliver it for the appropriate behavior of eliminating in the toilet. This will make it easy to give. Number 3, children aren't really given much choice in their day. Whenever we can give choice, it allows them to control parts of situations that they may not enjoy or they may not prefer. If you have a clear container for reinforcers, you can also let your child choose whatever they want, whether it's bubbles or candy, Smarties or chips, or a favorite toy. And number 4, try to dress your child using clothing that is easy for you to pull up and pull down to make the process smoother. Example, jogging pants or splash pants may be easier than something like jeans or other pants that might have challenging zippers, buckles, or buttons. Number 6, continuing to use social narratives will not only help your child learn the language, it can also help cue you to where you are in the routine and where the reinforcement is required. Number 7, offering frequent drinks and increasing fluid intake provides more opportunities to practice urinating in the toilet. If you are doing the combination method and you increase drink consumption, you also need to increase your awareness of behavioral indicators of having to go, as well as shortening the lengths between time trips, aka there are going to be a lot more pee dances in your future. And number 8, since we are talking about using a combination of time training and sensation training, you will need to immediately take the child to the bathroom when you notice those "I gotta go" behaviors. At these times, please don't ask if she or he needs to go pee because no matter what the answer is, you're going to be taking them regardless. Number 10, once sitting on the toilet, you may want to give them a different preferred item than the one they will receive for actually eliminating on the toilet. Both sitting and eliminating are necessary, but we want to emphasize that it's the eliminating while sitting that's the important part. Here's an example. You may want to start a favorite video once the child is sitting on the toilet, give them access to the iPad and play one of these videos, but also give a gummy bear in addition to the video once they start eliminating on the toilet. Number 11, as your child is successful in staying dry between trips to the bathroom, you can increase the toileting schedule in small time intervals, like 5 minutes. Too big of an increase could lead to accidents, which means you need to decrease the time between bathroom trips. Number 12, it's so important to celebrate small steps in the right direction. Don't be afraid to provide positive praise and preferred items for even the smallest steps towards independence. It's important to let your child know they are doing the right thing and to keep it up. Number 13, it's not going to happen immediately. Remember, even if you do everything right, you read the social narrative, you took your own data, you've got your preferred items all at the ready, your child may not eliminate. Wait a few minutes and then casually help them off the toilet and try again soon. Stay positive, stay persistent. What's next? You're ready to start. Step 1 is to look at your baseline data and create a toileting routine that will suit your family and have the most chance of success. Step 2, continue taking data at every trip to the bathroom. You are tracking whether they are wet, dry, or had a bowel movement. And at this step, your child should be expected to sit on the toilet and the goal is elimination. At any time, you can allow your child to join a parent or sibling, or even both, in the bathroom and observe a natural toileting routine from start to finish. We call this modeling. Anyone in the family involved in the plan should also be using the same language and expectations every time. This consistency will help a lot. Dealing with accidents. Oh boy, accidents happen. Oh boy, do they do happen. Remember that your child is observing your response to these accidents, and we don't want to provide accidents with undue attention. If your child has an accident, try to keep a neutral demeanor and guide them to the bathroom quietly without a fuss, if possible. Encourage the child to sit on the toilet or potty and continue to use consistent language. During cleanup, involve your child where possible, even just holding the garbage bag or taking their pants to the washing machine. During this time, please try to keep negative comments to a minimum and don't show the exasperation you may be feeling. If they participate in getting cleaned up, or even if they don't and they resist, you can praise this as nice, calm behavior by saying, "Thanks for tidying up. Good job staying calm in the bathroom." If accidents are happening daily or there seems to be a pattern, you may need to adjust your timing schedule to have shorter between bathroom times. If you're on a 1-hour time interval, your child seems to have 1 or 2 accidents in the morning, but none in the afternoon, you should consider 30-minute intervals for the morning and possibly leave the afternoon at 1 hour. So even shifting these intervals based on the time of day may be beneficial in your toileting routine. All these points are important when you are setting up your program. If any of these are missing or not considered or incorporated, it will be very difficult to successfully toilet train your child. If you, as a parent, feel ready and confident in teaching and you are committed to a positive approach, your goals will be more attainable. If your child is at the stage where they are ready to learn, they are watching and observing others and showing curiosity about toileting, your goals will be more obtainable. When everyone involved is in it together, your goals will be more attainable. If your goals are appropriate for your child's ability and the child is able to get their preferred items on most trips to the bathroom, then you'll be more quickly and easily ready to move through the steps of your plan. If success is not at hand, remember that toilet training is not foolproof. If a few weeks go by and your data is not showing any noticeable change, for example, they are wet and soiled just as many times as they were when you took your baseline data, then take a break. It's so important to remember for yourself and your child, and research has even shown that a 3-month break is ideal for both you and your child to once again be ready to try the plan. At this time, take another round of pre-planned data, another baseline, and review your plan accordingly. Think of immediate goal options. We need to start small so your child is successful. We don't want to bite off more than we can chew because we want to be able to provide reinforcement at almost every trip to the bathroom. Take a look at these 2 examples. Sitting on the toilet for 15 seconds versus successfully voiding on the toilet. Which do you think is a good goal to start at? Remember, we want to provide that reinforcement at almost every trip to the bathroom. Do you think a child starting out a toileting plan is more likely to be able to sit for 15 seconds or never be wet and always use the toilet properly? Obviously, the first one. Start here. As long as they can sit there for 15 seconds, they can get the gummy bear, or they can get the Smartie, or they can get the bubbles. If you expect the second goal, they are never going to get the gummy, they're never going to get the Smarties, they're never going to get the bubbles. And how is that going to help them? It's not. So start small, start with something they can do relatively easy and move forward from there. Remember, keep a positive attitude, be consistent, be patient. It takes time to learn. Do not expect changes overnight. I cannot stress enough. Sometimes things just don't line up the way we want, and we aren't able to attain the goals that we have set for ourselves. Don't get discouraged. Stay positive. Give yourself a break if you need to. Take the time to review your plan and goals. You can talk about them with your clinician to identify if there are any possible improvements that they can suggest. Try again, and remember that all learning takes time, even our own. And that's our virtual learning workshop on toilet learning. Thank you for coming by. I hope you found this workshop insightful, and the strategies and information you received, you can implement into your own toileting regimens at home with your children. If your child continues to experience difficulties with these approaches and is not making any progress despite consistent use of workshop strategies, please feel free to speak to your lead professional, or for more support, you can purchase a focused consultation by calling the number on your screen and pressing the number 4. My name is Alan Roaring. Thank you for coming by and joining our workshop. I wish you guys all the best and all the success with your toileting journey. Thank you.